All right, we are live. We got Mr. World My Way says that he's from the UK, 2 a.m. in the morning. Didn't think he would stick around, but thanks for showing up anyway. Bobby, what's going on? Brent Meister. Yeah, we're about a minute late, but we're good now. So, can you see the comments over there, Jason?
I can.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, we got a few people in the chat. For those of you guys that are in the chat, I did put a link to Jason's YouTube channel there. Tom's Food Factory, how are you? Dino Dan. I saw you cook some carne asada. Tacos looked amazing. There he is. Busy day, Jason?
Joe, every day is a busy day.
Oh, I bet, man. I bet. That's my world too, man. There's no such thing as a slow day. Mario, what's going on, buddy? We'll let a few more people come in, then we'll get started. But Jason, thanks again for taking time out of your busy day. I mean, I don't know how you do this. You know what you do. It's a lot of plates that you're spinning at one time, and it's got to be like sun up to sundown to take a little bit of time to talk to some of our subscribers. We've got about 28 people in the chat right now. I'm sure we'll get more coming in. But again, if you just jumped onto the chat, I did put a link to Jason's channel in the comment section there. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. He's got a lot of good stuff going on, and we're going to talk about that here as we get going with this interview. So, Jason, again, thanks again. I know you got a busy schedule, but I do want to talk about, for those of you guys that don't know how I met Jason. What's it been? I think 2 years now. We can kind of forget about 2020. It's a year that we lost. I mean, obviously there was a lot of memories made because we were all home with our families and stuff, but it's been about 2 years ago. Buddy of mine, Chris Webb, he's a manager at Proud Souls BBQ up in Denver, Colorado, and I was up there for a brisket class at Proud Souls BBQ, and Jason taught a portion of that class, and that's how I met. That's how I got introduced to Jason and got to eat at his restaurant. And if you guys are ever in that Denver area, definitely check it out. I'm going to talk about his restaurant as well later on. But who you see on Jason's videos is who he is in real life. He's going 1,000 miles an hour and is full of energy and just talks a lot of good about barbecue. And you will learn. A lot of us probably think that we could teach classes, but when you sit in a class with somebody that has been doing it for so long, you pick up a lot. And I picked up, I don't ever think that I know everything. I picked up something that still sticks to me today, Jason, where you had said that a brisket is 75% liquid or water. And I was like, no way. But then I was thinking, yeah, because I mean, you will lose, a brisket will lose, about half of its weight once you're done smoking it. And then I was like, that's so true. And our job as pit masters is to try to keep that brisket as moist as possible, but the brisket's trying to extract all those juices. So, I picked up a lot. And again, that was at Proud Souls BBQ there in Denver, Colorado. So, Jason, I want to first start off by asking you a question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your family and pets, and do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, so Joe, we'll probably get interrupted by either some of my pets or my kids here in the next hour. So maybe you'll get to meet them here pretty soon also.
Awesome.
So I'm married. I've got a wife. We've been married for about 13 years. We've got 4 kids. 3 of them we manufactured ourselves. One of them is a stepdaughter from a previous marriage. I've got a set of twins. The twins are 8 years old. They're Jack and Jenna. And then I've got a daughter named Holly. And then we've got Tori also.
Very nice.
I've got a couple of pets. I've got Henry. He's a giant white lab. I've got two cats, Haley and Daryl. And Daryl's a rescue. Haley we picked up from a friend of ours, and Henry we got from a breeder.
Very nice, very nice. So obviously, those of you guys that are in the chat, if you do have a question for Jason, want to know a little bit more about Jason, please ask your question, starting with at Smoking Joe Spit Barbecue. That way I can see it. And again, Jason can answer that question if he chooses to. So, right, I got to throw that disclaimer in there. So, Jason, I want to talk about how you got started in this. I'm not talking about how you got started with YouTube, how you got started with your restaurant, how you got started in the competition cooking. I'm talking about why did you start barbecuing? Was there somebody in your life that influenced you? Maybe who was that person? Just kind of take us back to where this all started.
Sure. Well, Joe, I want to give you some acknowledgement. I got one of my favorite things to do is just wish people a happy birthday on Facebook. Oftentimes, you see somebody and you don't see them for a long time, and then you get to reconnect with them when you wish them a happy birthday, and you usually trade some messages back and forth. And I think I saw you had a birthday yesterday or the day before, right?
Yesterday. Yes, sir.
So happy 48th, big man.
Wow. How did you know it was 48?
I read somewhere, somebody said something, or you posted it or something.
Okay. Wow. There goes the I'm 29 years old again out the window.
28 going on. I'm sorry, 48 going on 28, right?
There you go, buddy.
Yeah, so barbecue for me, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. That's originally where I was born. I lived there till I was about 30. I'm 45 now. I have very vivid memories of hanging out in my backyard with my dad. We had a Weber kettle, and he would have a towel wrapped around his belt buckle, and he would have a can of Natural Light or Bush Light, and he would cook. In St. Louis, pork steaks, which is just sliced pork shoulder, is very popular. And he was pretty much a griller, not so much a barbecue. But I mean, at least once a week, it was hot dogs, hamburgers, or pork steaks. And I have very vivid memories of him just taking the beer and dousing the beer on there to add some flavor to it or give it some moisture. And I just always have been intoxicated by that aroma, just the environment. I mean, you know how it is. And most of the people that are on here watching it, I mean, we all know we like to huddle around the fire. It's very social. It's a big, it pulls everybody together. And that's everything I'm about. Like, I love being around people. I love socializing. I love eating. I love having a good time. And so barbecue really resonated with me. And then the whole barbecue community. I mean, we can talk and kind of get into about how I fell into like competition barbecue, but that whole culture around that is just like everything I live for. And so I've always been a huge fan of just barbecue and what it represents ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah, and that's so true. I think that barbecue for years has brought people together. You think about even the cowboys when they're working their ranch. At the end of a long day, they're out there cooking some steaks or whatever, just with their families, and I think unfortunately this pandemic has taken some of that because we can't hang with family or whatever to have those barbecues, and I can't wait for all of this to be done, because that's one of the things that I like to do, and how it got started for me was to, have family over and cook barbecue, just, make those memories together. And but that's interesting. And you mentioned pork steaks, and I just did pork steaks probably 2-3 months ago. I've never had them. We've always just smoked a pork shoulder, and I got to tell you, Jason, there is something very special about a pork steak. And I don't know, how did your dad cook? I mean, you sit on a Weber kettle, or did you guys have an open pit at that point?
No, Weber kettle, 100% Weber kettle. That's everything he cooked on. And then he would like, we would have people over to the house a lot, and he would grill them off and then put them in. He'd call it a Nesco. That was the manufacturer, basically a hot holding device. And then he would do different blends of store-bought barbecue sauces, and then just throw in hot dogs, hamburgers, pork steaks, whatever it might be.
Very nice. So we got a question from Small Town Barbecue. What's your favorite protein to cook, and why?
I like variety, so I don't necessarily know if I have one particular thing to cook. If it's something I haven't cooked in a while, I'll really enjoy cooking that. But I'm not a creature of habit when it comes to cooking or eating. I like to try new things. I like to cook different things. I like to, I love to cook things outside of barbecue too. And I know my family gets frustrated with me. For instance, like let's say I'm cooking a bolognese for our dinner, and they really like it, and they want me to cook the same thing again. Well, I very rarely will cook the same bolognese twice. I'll use different wines in it, or just all kinds of different stuff. So I'm always mixing it up. That I don't necessarily know if there's one particular thing that I really crave to cook. But hamburgers are great. Like I love hamburgers. I love making hamburgers. I love the variety you can do with hamburgers. I love how simple they are, but yet they're so freaking delicious, and they don't take a long time to cook. So hamburgers would probably be the one thing, but I'm certainly not tied to it.
There you go. There you go. So I know that you had, when I started reading up on Jason Ganahl, I read a lot about competition and some of your successes in the competition barbecue. How did you get involved in the competition barbecue? I mean, how did you go from, I mean, obviously your dad was a big influence on you, and I'm sure as you grew older, you started a barbecue, and you met your wife, and you cook at home and stuff. But why did you get in, and how did you get into competition barbecue?
So I fell into competition barbecue by becoming a barbecue judge. I was a barbecue judge first, and I judged for a couple of years. And I told you earlier, I was born and raised in St. Louis. I lived there till I was about 30. I had a job that took me out to California, and I don't consider myself a barbecue snob at all. So I'm sure many people have heard of Pappy's and Sugar Fire in St. Louis. I joke around with Mike and Mike that I never would have left St. Louis had Pappy's and Sugar Fire been around when I was in St. Louis. So I used to go to a place called Bandanas in St. Louis, and they're a regional chain. They probably have about 15, maybe 20 locations now, all throughout kind of the I guess that Mississippi River kind of corridor. And I would eat there probably 2 or 3 times a week. I love to work out. I love to play sports, and just eating big proteins was a great way to satisfy my hunger and to also just refuel myself. So eating barbecue all the time, not being what I would consider a barbecue snob, as long as it wasn't over sauced, over seasoned, and cooked well, and had that thing we all crave, that smoke flavor in the meat. I was all about it. So found my place in St. Louis, moved out to California. Found my place out there. I lived in San Ramon, and there was a place in Lafayette, California that I would go to on a regular basis. Moved out to Colorado about 14 years ago. And I don't mind getting in my car and driving. I mean, I'm a single guy at the time, so I get in my car and drive, find a place. It was great. I drive back to it, maybe take 30 minutes, and it was kind of off the mark. And I don't mind driving 30, 45 minutes for the consistency. But after doing that for 3 or 4 different places, I went online, went on the computer, and I stumbled across the Kansas City Barbecue Society. And I saw that they put on these professional barbecue contests all over the country. I thought, holy crap, that's awesome. I'm going to go judge these contests, and I'll get to find good barbecue. And so I judged for about 2 or 3 years. And after judging, I really enjoyed judging. I love trying all the different food. I love meeting all the different judges. I really think that helped me a lot out when I started competing. I got to see a lot of the variety. I got to talk to a lot of different judges. I got to understand how the different judges think and evaluate the barbecue. So after judging for about 2 years, I competed. And I'll never forget actually going to my very first event. This is long before I became a judge. It was in Frisco, Colorado. And it's probably the most popular event out here in Colorado. But I remember walking up, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up when I smelled all the smoke. I heard the bands going. I saw all these little setups. I remember Kelly Wirtz had 4 legs up. He said it had like the face of the champion. I'm just like, wow, that guy right there. And just being really just drawn to the festivity, and everybody was smiling. Everybody was eating barbecue. And I was just like, wow, this is home for me. This is my calling. This is what I really enjoy. And I remember going up to a guy, and the barbecue guys for the most part are friendly. And we were just talking. I was like, oh, this is my first time here. He says, hey, I just turned in these ribs. Would you like to try them? I was like, yeah, you bet I would. So he gave me a rib, and I tried it, and I was like, holy crap, that is the best rib I've ever had in my life, bar none. hands down, the best rib I ever have. I remembered the name of his team, and all the results came out later. And there was probably 57 or 58 teams there that day. And I saw where he finished, and he finished like 53rd out of 57
Wow.
teams. And so I remember at that moment thinking I was very intimidated by that. Instantly put a thought in my mind, like, you'll never be able to be like these guys, or you'll never be able to compete at a level these guys are, because the very best rib you ever just had in your life finished 53rd out of 60 teams. Right. So that really at the time sat in my head and was like, don't ever think about doing anything like this, because these guys are completely out of your league and you'll never be as good as them. So
Yeah.
I got into judging, and I judged for about 2 or 3 years. And then after trying all the different entries for 2 or 3 years, and I'm naturally just a pretty competitive guy, I got onto the competing side and competed for probably about 5 or 6 years after that.
Very nice. So that's very smart what you did. You started as a judge, to kind of see what the judges are looking for, and where they. I mean, you can't see another judge's score. I mean, unless you're peeking, and I'm sure there's a little bit of that. Hey, I wonder how Jason's scoring this rib right here. Oh, okay, well he thinks it's a 10, or I'm going to give it a 7, or whatever. I'm sure there's a little bit of that, but that's very smart. You kind of went under cover and found what the judges are looking for. So back then, I mean, you're talking 14 years ago. Do you ever feel that you're kind of a pioneer of competition barbecue? Do you consider yourself one of those, or was that stage already set when you got to it?
Oh gosh, no.
Okay.
I mean, people have been competing for a really long time. I'm just jumping on the train and going for a ride at it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been competition barbecue out here. We have Rocky Mountain Barbecue Association. It's a group of people that are very passionate about competition barbecue and just spreading the barbecue love in the community. I'm a big advocate for that group. That group was already established well before I ever got involved.
Very nice. So, what was one of your highest achievements in competing into barbecue, whether it was KCDS or any other organization?
Joe, this is going to sound really hokey, but the thing I'm most proud about competing is just the friends that I made through competition. My best friends to this day right now are people I met in competition. I mean, there's a couple of them. There's one today I was just texting with. We haven't seen each other in 2 or 3 years, but I talk to guys I met in competition barbecue multiple times a day, all the time, and that's the thing I'm probably most proud of. As it relates to any accomplishment I had in competition barbecue.
Okay, now you've cooked in some of the biggest, the world's largest, or the United States competitions, right?
Yep.
And how'd you do? How'd you do there?
We did good. I mean, I only competed at a high level for probably about 2 or 3 years. And so
Wow.
2013 and 2014 were my 2 best years in competition. And I competed for about 4 years. So the first year, I just tried to figure it out and get a little bit better. The second year, I get a call here, get a call there, maybe win something. And then the third year I had it for the most part kind of dialed in. And so that third and fourth year, I had a lot of success, and we did the Royal. I never got my bung pulled for the jack. I mean, I had 50-50s in like 3 different states, and unfortunately never got called there, and also never got seven wins either to get the automatic there. But I competed in the Rockies Invitational, which was a lot of fun. That was out here in Denver, that the owner of the Colorado Rockies put on. And he took his plan was to take the top 25 ranked teams in KCBS at the time and bring them out here. And I think he got probably like 15 of the top 25 or 18 of the top 25. And then he filled it in with the rest of the local teams. And that was my biggest win. We won that. And that was all the heavy hitters at the time in 2014 were at that. So, I mean, a lot of them come in here, and you can see like Sam's Club. That's an old style tournament. I think it was 750 teams. And you'd go from a local to a regional to the finals. We made Sam's Club final 3 out of those 4 years I competed, and that was a lot of fun. But you would see back then a lot of teams from like the Kansas City area they would put 2 of those local contests in the Kansas City area, but they would still drive out here to Colorado and compete because they think it was a soft environment. So
Oh, wow.
I have no doubt that the level of respect for the Colorado teams, while there's good teams out here, we just don't have the depth of really good teams that they have in some other areas. So it was a lot of fun to defend that home turf at that Colorado Rockies event when all the heavy hitters came out here, and then the Colorado team ended up winning it. That was a lot of fun, and that was definitely probably my biggest win.
Very nice. So are you still competing today?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Absolutely. So every single person that comes in my restaurant, I want to be number 1 with them.
There you go. Well, as far as I can see that, but are you still competing in KCBS events or any of those?
No, don't do those. And it's hard. It's hard with the kids. I coach
Yeah.
the sports teams, and they have a lot of activities on the weekends, and it's either their activities or my activities, and they're only going to be kids for one time. So I pretty much defaulted my weekends to them for the last few years.
Very nice. Okay. So we got a question from Chris Hernandez. How have you been able to sustain your business with the pandemic situation? He's an aspiring food truck owner. He's looking for advice. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all struggling to find out how to do that, right? I mean, every single day we look for ways to offer more value to our customers and also to keep our businesses going. I mean, I can speak solely for what we did. But we offered a discount. We offered a 15% off discount to our community, and tried to shove everybody to online ordering because we can't have people inside of our restaurant. So we pushed them all to online ordering, and then we have their food ready for them when they come in. So, I mean, we're open now to 50% indoor dining, but for a while we had 0%. So it was a sight for sore eyes, but we would have just bag after bag after bag after bag after bag lined up. And I think offering that discount, that incentive for people to come in and try you, that really helped us. And one of the things that we have a really good email database. I got an email database of about 35,000 email addresses.
Wow.
And I'd say 90% of them are barbecue eaters in the Denver area. So I put that code out there and I send that out to them. And I mean, the phone just starts ringing just like that. The online orders start going up. And granted, the discount's only for online ordering, but I mean, it instantly creates a reaction when we put that out there. So I think it's important to have an easy way in social media, building up your social media where you can talk directly to the people that enjoy eating at your restaurants. That's work that needs to be done so that if you do all that kind of stuff, when we get in situations like this, you can get the word out to your guests.
Very nice. I saw that you posted something about maybe curbside pickup. Is that something new that you started?
Yeah, and we don't do the curbside pickup anymore. We have them come in now. They're allowed to come in. They come in, and we have everything on a table for them. And so we've got DoorDash, we've got Grubhub, we've got Uber Eats, and so we have sections for each one of those particular companies. And then we have all the food for the people when they come in. So you come in there on a Friday or Saturday night, you'll see 15, 20 bags lined up, depending on where it's headed.
So was that ability to order online already there, or is this something that you like jumped on because of the pandemic?
Yeah, Joe, we're so lucky and so blessed to have really good takeout food, but we already had that set up. So we already had online ordering. We already had the food deliveries. So unlike a lot of my friends with other restaurants that are non-barbecue related, they're scrambling to get all those things set up. But then after they get those things set up, they've got to train their customer base that, hey, this is what we offer now. This is what we do. And just because you put it in a social media post doesn't mean A, people see it, and doesn't mean B, that they understand that. So our guests were already conditioned for that behavior.
Very nice. You know, that's so true. And I mean, there's so much that goes into online ordering or curbside pickup. You know, the technology is insane these days. But I'm happy that you guys, as a restaurant owner, you're able to do this, because if not, I mean, how do you reach your customers? How are your customers going to order? There's not enough phone lines in the restaurant to take that many orders to take out. But that's awesome that you already had that platform kind of laid out, so it was a little bit smoother for you. You know, Chicken Fried Barbecue said that, did someone say comp? So Chicken Fried Barbecue started a YouTube channel, you know, kind of around the time that I started my YouTube channel. And he's got the best YouTube name, I think, Chicken Fried Barbecue. It's the best ever. But he started to get into competition cooking, and he got really serious about it. He went out and bought a trailer, got some drums. I mean, this guy went all out. He found something that he's going to be extremely passionate about, and he just GC'd. I think, Bill, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's your first GC, if I'm not mistaken. But he's got a lot of RGCs, and I'm so proud of Bill and what he's done. His pictures, the ribs, the brisket. He's a savage brisket cook. If you have a chance, check out some of his videos. But that's very similar stories. I mean, he didn't judge barbecue; he just jumped right in, and he's doing really good.
Yeah, so I recognize Bill's Instagram. I think Bill probably puts the best, most beautiful pictures of barbecue on his Instagram page. And I saw that contest in Houston. I saw Brad, I think RGC'd from Getting Basted, and then Bill GC'd. So congratulations on your first one. And Joe, that's interesting to hear you say he had a bunch of reserves before then, because my nickname for a while was RGQ for RGC. I had like 7 or 8 RGCs before I got my first GC. And so that was kind of my nickname there for a while.
That is awesome. So what were you cooking with? What kind of smoker were you cooking in back then?
In the contest, so when I got into competing, everybody was using the FEC 100s. So that's kind of what I got into. And you'll notice, over the last, I don't know, however many years, 8 or so years, at least out here in Colorado, there was the FEC fad where for 2 or 3 years, everybody had an FEC, and then Jambos went crazy. Everybody had like Jambos for 2 or 3 years, and then drums were really hot. So drums have been really hot for the last probably like 3 years or so. So I started out on an FEC, and then everybody went to Jambos, but I stayed on my FE. A, Jambos are extremely expensive, and B, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I was still doing really well cooking on the FEC. But now, I mean, you walk around a big event, I don't think there's anybody cooking on an FEC. I think Butcher Barbecue cooks on an FEC. I'm thinking of guys that might still compete at a high level and do really well. But if I were to compete, I'd roll out the FEC and cook on that.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it. It's in storage. It's bolted into my trailer, so it's still in storage up here in North Denver, and I still make payments on it. For some reason, I could very easily, the trailer I own outright, but I make payments on the storage. And in the back of my head, I just keep thinking, what if I'll get to go out to compete? But if I'm being realistic and rational, there's no way I'm going to get to go out and compete anytime soon. And I can visualize that conversation with my wife. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to go on a barbecue contest this weekend. And she's been extremely supportive of me. But it's just not a good time. And all the barbecue competition guys, it takes 2 or 3 contests to get your rhythm underneath you. And, you're not just going to come out there and do really well. I mean, you're going to need 1 or 2 cooks to kind of get your legs underneath you a little bit.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I do have a story to tell you about my first KCBS event. As soon as we answer this question here, Tyron from TNT Barbecue, great gentleman. He does a lot of catering. He has a question. Do you keep any barbecue secret recipes?
No, Tyron and I go way back. I mean, I think we started on YouTube right around the same time. So we were always, watching each other's videos and all that. And I'm going to have to check out Bill. I didn't know Bill had a YouTube channel, so I'm going to have to check out some of his videos. But no, Tyron, anything you want to know, just message me and I'll share you. But they're really simple. It's G-QUE Barbeque, the rub, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and we will talk about that. So my first KCBS event, Chris Webb, which at Proud Souls Barbecue. So when he was living in El Paso, he was working at a local barbecue store here, and they had a kind of a mock KCBS event here in El Paso at a Wet and Wild water park. And it wasn't really a KCBS event, but they were following KCBS rules. Well, they ended up making a big mistake in judging. I had 5 judges judge my barbecue, and Chris had 6 judges. And Chris didn't find this out till afterwards. Well, they had made me the GC. They had me up on stage, Jason, and my wife and daughter, yay, that's my husband, that's my dad. And then the next day, Chris starts looking at the scorecards and he goes, wait a minute, man, this is way off. But then anyway, they ended up paying both of us, which worked out. But my first official KCBS event was out of Lubbock. And it was with Chris. Chris invited me. He goes, hey, you got ribs. And Chris and I cooked a lot of ribs together, and we tried different sauces and rubs. And And I even did a video at his house right before we went to Lubbock, because I mix my own glaze, if you will, for the ribs. And I was comparing it to Cosmos Q, which he has some good glazes.
Yeah.
And Chris said, no, we're going to go with your glaze. And there's a video out there that says that. So we went out to Lubbock, thinking we're all badasses and our boots were full of bullshit. And so we also got James from Aim 'em and Claim 'em.
Love James.
Yeah, he was on our team. So it was like the three banditos out there in Lubbock. And I think we ended up getting like 16th place out of 60 some odd teams. But that was a funny one. That's why I got to meet Harry Sue and some big competition cooks. And Harry's a great man as well. But so that was my first KCBS event, and I wanted to get into it, but it's like everything. I mean, if you don't put the time and if you're not extremely passionate about it, it's not going to work, man. You have got to find that one thing, and it's just not for. It wasn't for me. I really enjoyed that. I competed twice, 3 times. But I don't have the time to dedicate to competition cooking. And it's interesting to see that you still have your trailer. So you and I will have to talk, or if you want to give me your wife's number, I can chat with her and see what we can do to save that storage bill for you.
Joe, I was thinking, Joe, when you were telling that story about you and Bushmaster, I was thinking of, didn't Steve Harvey do that at one of the Miss America pageants where he announced the wrong Miss America or something like that?
And you know what? I felt so bad because I love Chris to death, man. And he's my buddy. And I saw him and his wife out in the audience, and people are half lit. It was a 4th of July weekend, and I just see Chris's face when I'm on stage, and the announcer, he's a DJ from a local rock station, says, "Oh, don't go anywhere, Joe. We're not done with you." And first place ribs, first place brisket, first place chicken,
nice,
grand champion. And I'm looking at Chris, and I feel bad for him because I was like, how in the hell did I beat Chris? There's no way. Like, I knew it. I was like, well, maybe the flavors were just right. I don't know. And I couldn't believe it. But, I felt bad about Chris not being up on stage with me. I felt really bad, actually. And I'm glad that they ended up settling with both of us.
Bushmaster is an excellent competition barbecue cook, and he will have several last walks to the stage.
Oh, yeah, he will. Absolutely, he will. So I do want to get into your barbecue restaurant, G-QUE. By the way, what was the name of your competition team back then? Was it G-QUE Barbeque?
G-QUE, yeah.
G-QUE. So what's with that name? Where did you get that name from?
So I got into it like 14 years ago. No, I came out here 14 years ago. I got into it like 10 years ago. And at that time, Brad Pitt was really popular. So a lot of people think, oh, you must think you're Brad Pitt getting in there all GQ and it means GQ and all that. But that couldn't be further from the truth. My last name is Ganahl. So it's the G from Ganahl, and Q is just Ganahl Barbecue. So it's an acronym for Ganahl Barbecue, GQ, not that I think I'm Brad Pitt walking around trying to win barbecue contests.
That is awesome. And Chris asked that question, what's the inspiration for your barbecue names? I don't know why I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's it.
That is so funny. It's so simple. I like it. So I do want to talk about your barbecue restaurant. When I was in Denver 2 years ago, I read up on some of the top barbecue places, and your restaurant came up first. So I stopped there, and I got to meet you at the restaurant. You took me back to look at your smokers and stuff. And I had already eaten, but I said, man, I've got to try this place before I head out of Colorado. Reading up on a lot of your the history of G-QUE Barbeque restaurant and your competition style background or your competition background, I found myself when I started competing that's the way that I would cook at home. Like if I had friends over, I wanted them to have competition style barbecue. Mm-hmm. In fact, there was a couple of before Lubbock, Chris and we did a mock cook. We were going to cook the ribs, the brisket, the chicken, and we were testing different injections and sauces. So I had a bunch of my neighbors here. We had a big party, and we said, okay, well, we're going to give you guys a little bit of this brisket, a little bit of this rib here, a little bit of this chicken. Tell us what you think. But one thing that I found when I went to your restaurant is that you serve, I don't want to say it's competition style, but it's very close to competition style barbecue. Is that what you're after?
Yeah, I mean, people ask all the time, like, what kind of food are you? I mean, they want to categorize you and then compare you and stuff, and they say, are you Texas? Are you Kansas City? And my background is competition. I mean, I'm a competition barbecue cook, and so while we don't do it exactly the same way as we did when we were competing, I mean, that's really what I try to mimic. The sauces, the rubs, it's the same thing I used, and I see Tony put a comment on there.
Well, he's poking the bear.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great. I love it.
Chris ain't gonna show up to work tomorrow. You keep that up,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so I mean, we do try to keep the same flavor profiles. We might not have the same techniques and the same steps as competition barbecue, but I mean, I love seeing a lot of the guys that I used to compete with. They've gone on and they've opened up their restaurants too, and a lot of them are calling it kind of competition style also too. So I'm really excited to see maybe over the next like 7 to 10 years, it might be more common for people to understand like what competition barbecue is. And one of the things I'm really worried about as somebody that's so passionate about, competition barbecue is I want to see competition barbecue stick around. Like I'd love nothing more to be, 65 years old and get with me one of those RVs and just drive around and do competition barbecue. And I'm afraid that those things might not be around. And it just seems like the number of people competing are getting less and less every single year. So I worry that competition barbecue, or if it's around, it's going to look a little bit different than what we're used to with the 4 standard meats in KCBS.
So do you think that, I mean, talking about that, do you think that when you were competing, has the style of barbecue changed much from when you first started to what it is today?
In terms of what? In terms of what people turn in a contest, or in terms
Yeah,
of okay.
everything from the like. So back then, I saw a lot of old videos of competition style barbecue, and they didn't trim their briskets like they trim them today. For example, that's one of the things that I noticed. But the rib flavors, I mean, do you think it's the same now as it was back then, or do you think things got sweeter now?
So I'm not certain. And after I stopped competing, I love judging. So I would still try to go out and judge one event a year. And I thought the flavor profiles for the most part stayed the same, even 4 or 5 years after I stopped competing. So I haven't noticed a drastic pull, but I'm not in it. Maybe Tony can chime in the chat and say, because Tony would come along and he helped me out in contests there. My last year, he helped me out. Would go around to Sam's Club. We'd go down to Vegas. He went with me to Arkansas to cook in the finals. So Tony still competes. So he might have some good insight as to if a lot of those flavor profiles are the same now as they were back, 7 or 8 years ago.
So how did you? I mean, were you and Tony kind of teammates? Is that how you guys met?
Yeah, so Tony and I go way back. He used to stuff me in lockers in high school. Tony and I went to high school together.
Oh wow!
Yeah, a lot of
Wow.
people don't know that or don't realize that. And I love telling people that know both of us, but know us both in 2 different ways.
Yes.
So we're both from St. Louis and we both went to the exact same high school. So I couldn't be more proud of Tony and all of what he's accomplishing right now. And he's getting so many people in the Denver area into outdoor cooking and into like cooking their own food for their families and into barbecue and stuff. And he's doing such a good job spreading the barbecue word out here in Denver.
Yes, he is, and that I really can't wait to get out to Denver again. Once things settle down, to check out his new place. And Tony's just a great guy. I mean, I knew that the minute that I met him, that he's a genuine guy. He appreciates hard work, and he's a hard worker himself. I mean, he's not a slacker. He's out there pushing the business and supporting the customers, and it's not about selling that customer. I got to see him interact with customers. He's not going to sell a customer a smoker just to sell him a smoker. He wants to get to know that customer and say, hey, well, okay, what is it that you're looking for, so I can kind of help put you in the right smoker. And he's not going to push them into buying something again just to make a sale. He's going to put that customer in the right smoker. And I love that. And what he's doing for the barbecue community, he's such an amazing store and really good success story. So that's very interesting. I didn't know that you guys knew each other from St. Louis. So you mentioned Pappy's earlier. I've been to Pappy's probably 4 times. Every time I go into St. Louis, that place is really good.
Yeah.
I go there obviously because the barbecue is good, and it's to me, it's not. I know that I'm in St. Louis, and I don't know if that's St. Louis style. To me, it's kind of more on the Texas style. I really don't. If I were to say what style of barbecue do you sell there, or they sell there. It's really similar to Texas style, not heavy on the sauce at all on the ribs. Brisket has really good flavor. And if I had the opportunity, I'd go back again. So really good at Pappy's. So
yeah, Joe, I just want to share. I love Mike
Sure.
Emerson. Mike Emerson is like, he's probably like my barbecue father. Like I love Mike, and he's always so grateful to take a call. I love hanging out with him. And I will say about Pappy's, like Pappy's ribs are my favorite ribs, bar none, hands down, anywhere in the United States. I love his ribs, and I definitely think it's because of how much respect I have for him, and just being back from St. Louis. Like it just really just reinforces my love for his ribs that he makes, and his burnt ends. His burnt ends and ribs are probably my favorite 1-2 punch out of any of the barbecue places I've ever ate at.
if you're lucky to get burnt ends, if you get there early enough. So do you have burnt ends at your restaurant?
We'll make them. So we cook whole briskets. So if I put burnt ends on the menu, we would sell a ton of those. So people that know, they come in and say, "Give me the burnt ends," then we just cube up some point and then serve it to folks. But it's not a separate process. But all the briskets we cook are whole briskets, and then like the regulars, the people that come in all the time, they'll ask for burnt ends, and we'll just serve them cube point.
Okay. Do you have a secret menu at G-QUE Barbeque?
Yeah. There's certain things that might be left over from the specials, or tater tots, or the burnt ends. But all you gotta do is ask for it, and if we got it, we'll make it for you. But it's not like a permanent 3 things that are always. So we have a happy hour menu that comes out. It's got some nachos, and it's got some barbecue fries, and so yeah, I mean we would serve those. I shouldn't. I mean, people are going to see this. I can see people coming in and say, "No, you said you serve them all the time." And then one of our POS people will say, "We only got to get those from happy hour time." But yeah, I mean, we always want to make people happy and stuff. So if somebody comes in and asks for something and we have it, we'll make it for them.
So tell me about those world famous onion rings of yours.
World famous? What makes them world famous?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know they were world famous.
I mean, weren't you voted like top, top 10 places to eat onion rings or something like that?
I'm not sure. I don't know, but they are dang good. They're beer battered. They've got a little bit of sweetness to them, and I love our onion rings. And we got a lot of people that come in and tell us we got the best onion rings ever. But who would think going to a barbecue place to get onion rings, right?
Right. So, you mentioned earlier, obviously you're from St. Louis. Is that the style of barbecue that you would say you cook at G-QUE Barbeque?
Well, what is the St. Louis style of barbecue? Do you know what that is? I'm from St. Louis, and I like that sound. That's one of my favorite sounds.
Well, I know that Carolina has it's a vinegar and mustard. Depends on what part of Carolina, because there's also a tomato. Texas is salt and pepper. Kansas City has more of a tomatoey kind of sauce to it. And if St. Louis if there is a St. Louis style, I had it at Pappy's. If that St. Louis style is really close to Texas, so I think it's it's not quite Texas, not as peppery, I guess, but it's really close to Texas style barbecue, in my opinion.
Yeah, and this is what's great about barbecue is you can have all these different conversations about all these different things. It's a lot like sports. It's a lot like religion. It's a lot like politics. Very rarely are you going to get everybody to agree on what something is and what the best thing is. But when I think of St. Louis, I think it's just like a lot of sauce. People in St. Louis consume more barbecue sauce per capita than any other city in the United States. So it's heavy sauce. And it's also kind of a bastardization of a Memphis and Kansas City. It's like if you kind of put those two together, you get a little sweet sauce from the Kansas City, but then you see a lot of like baby back ribs and things like that from the Memphis influence and stuff. So that's kind of my definition of what St. Louis barbecue is. But I bet if you asked 10 different people from St. Louis what St. Louis barbecue is, my guess is you're going to get 4 or 5 different answers.
Oh my! So
Joe, let me ask you a question. If you ask 10 guys from Texas what Texas barbecue is, how many different answers would you get?
You're going to get different answers. So a lot of people say, okay, well, Texas style barbecue is salt and pepper, and I like salt and pepper, heavy on the pepper, but I also like a powder and paprika on my briskets. That's still a Texas style to me because of the pepper content. But you're right. One of my most successful videos was comparing a Texas style pork butt versus a Carolina. and you should see some of the comments. I got beat to death. Yeah, there's no way that that's Carolina. You took the fat cap off. Carolina barbecue has the fat cap on, and you sear it towards the end. And you don't use that sauce in Carolina. And so I interviewed a guy from Carolina, just like I'm interviewing you. And I said, okay, you tell me, older gentleman, great guy. And I said, you tell me what North Carolina barbecue is. And I wrote down his recipe and I remade that video. And then people were saying, okay, now that's kind of more North Carolina, but there's no way that that's symbolic of Carolina, because we use a tomato sauce down kind of the southern side, and there's so many different variations. I think Tony mentioned earlier, you cook it right, it tastes good, you're good, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. In Carolina, it's east-west, right? The east side is kind of a Kansas City style, and the west side is a vinegar base. And I think when a lot of people think of a Carolina style, they gravitate to more of that eastern side of the state. But there's tons of people on the western side that don't identify with that.
Right. So so we talked about the style of barbecue. Now let's talk about your YouTube channel. When did you start? When did you first get into YouTube, and why did you get into it?
YouTube and I have a love-hate relationship. It's kind of like that old girlfriend, right? You like them, and then you don't like them, and you like them, and then you don't like them. I love YouTube as a consumer. I'm a huge fan of watching videos. I watch all kinds of different videos. And so I've always just enjoyed watching videos on YouTube. And I started having kids, and when we started taking all these pictures and all these videos, and I had a collection of all these, 7-second, 10-second videos, but I didn't know what to do with the videos. And then I started seeing people make these, these family videos and all that. I'm like, man, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn how to make videos. So when we go back to St. Louis or we go to these different places, I can make, a 4-minute video of our trip. And so I started watching YouTube videos to learn how to make videos. And I became what I think is a pretty good editor, and could put the videos together and make these really great family videos that we can look back on, 10 or 15 later and smile and laugh at and stuff. And so then once I learned how to do that, I thought, well, I can make other videos too, right? And so I was really passionate at the time. That's about the time where I was, doing well in competition barbecue. And that was probably my number one passion at the time. So then I thought it'd be fun to just start making YouTube videos and putting them out there on the internet. So that's really what got me into it. And I never really had a grand plan with them. One of the things I like most, I mentioned, I started messaging with Thyron. There were several guys that were kind of just starting out at the time. And I loved the relationships I was building with them, and we would trade messages back and forth, trying to crack the YouTube code. And that's probably what I enjoyed most with it. But it was always just something I did on the weekend if I found time for it. I was never really super serious about it. But I enjoyed just the interaction, and I enjoyed watching my friends make YouTube videos and knowing the people that were making the videos.
So did you take a break from YouTube? And is that when you were kind of, your family was young and getting your life situated?
Well, that's when I messaged you the other day. I messaged Joe the other day, and I'm just kind of getting back into YouTube. I took a little over 2 years off from producing content and putting content out there. And YouTube is humbling. I mean, it's like starting from scratch all over again, trying to build back up, getting in people's viewer histories, getting YouTube to want to recommend your videos, trying to figure out what's working the most, what isn't working the most. And I messaged Joe the other day. I'm like, dang, man, all my view counts just plummeted. And does YouTube have something against me, or is this what's going on out there? And I was relieved when you replied back, no, man, same thing's happening to me.
Yeah, our views recently, 2020 was a great year for YouTube. If you had a YouTube channel and you were consistent with your videos and you have good content, your channel benefited in 2020. I benefited. I think I gained over 30,000 subscribers in 1 year.
That's great.
Yeah, and that's, to me, that's. I was like, man, when I had 1,000, I was really happy, and then I got 10,000. I was like, holy cow, man, this is serious. And you got to stay on it. It's like spinning a plate on one of those poles, and the minute you walk away from it, it's going to fall and break. Yeah, you can put another plate on it, but you better keep spinning it if you want it to continue to spin.
It's a great analogy, Joe, and that's so true. Just consistently putting out content, but I think also making sure your content is getting a little bit better with each video you put out, like improving them, putting out content that people want to stay on your videos a little bit more, click on your videos a little bit more. I think that's an important element also, getting better with each one.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it earlier, Jason, where you don't just like to do barbecue. And that's one of the things that I love about your channel. You're out there doing versus cooks, grilled or griddled. Yeah, I see you cooking on the Blackstone a lot, correct? Is that a Blackstone?
Yeah, so I started cooking on the Blackstone just because it's quick. I only have so much time, and to do like a long brisket cook, that takes forever, and then you gotta edit it and put it together and do all that kind of stuff. That's a part-time job. I mean, my hat goes off to these YouTube guys that are putting out quality content weekly and doing like big protein cooks. That's a big time commitment. And Joe, you do that. I'm impressed with what you do. You said something earlier where you're like, I couldn't get into like barbecue. I didn't have whatever it was. can't remember the adjective that you used. Passion, but you have that for YouTube. I mean, you're putting out really good stuff, and your videos are awesome.
Well, thank you. And I see a lot of what you have done, Jason, in your life. It's like you think about your life is like a good book, and there's different chapters in that book. And I think that your life is much like mine because my wife likes to call me a hobby jumper. I was into bowling, and I bought the most expensive bowling balls. And go ahead. What?
You're kidding me, Joe? I grew up right behind a bowling alley, so I was sponsored by Hammer. I used to go all over and do bowling tournaments. I'm in the
wow.
If you bowl a sanctioned 300 game, you're in the Bowling Hall of Fame. So one of those little like two truths and a lie thing that you do, I always like to say like I'm in the Bowling Hall of Fame with people because nobody would ever guess that, right? So wow, how about that? We're soul brothers. Bowling and then barbecue, right?
Yeah. So I got into guns, I got into racing cars, and everything. Everything is it's fun while it lasts. It's like going to a good party, it was fun, but okay, well, it's over. Let's move on to the next one. And that's the way my hobbies were. And you're, I've read a lot and followed you, and read a lot of your interviews and seen a lot of your videos and kind of your life story. And I like that it's in different chapters. It's not the same. It's not your book of life is not one chapter. It's different chapters. Okay, well, he started cooking here, and that's why I wanted to know. Take me all the way back before you started competing, and you brought up the pork steaks with your dad. So to me, that's kind of your first chapter. And then you got into competition, and then your restaurant, and YouTube, and all of those things that you're working on are different chapters of your life. And I just love the way that your book is coming out. Your book is being written perfectly. So and my life book has been that way, and I live with in a way that this is the one life that we get. Make the best of it, and work at it extremely hard, because this isn't like Modern Warfare 3 where you die and you respawn. This is it. So make the best of it, and I love what you're doing, Jason. So what is your ultimate goal with your YouTube channel? I mean, what do you want to do with it? What's the ultimate for you? I mean, to me, Jason, you're really close to 100,000 subscribers, really close. And I got to tell you, if you continue your content, you're going to get to that point in no time, and you get that nice silver play button. Ooh. And that is a huge accomplishment.
That will mean more. That will mean more to my kids than me. They think that's the coolest thing. They're like, "Daddy, are you gonna get one of those silver play buttons?"
Right? Yeah, kids are. What's weird, Jason, is that a kid can start a YouTube channel today and hit 80,000 subscribers by year end by talking about something that kids are in, whether it's viral dancers or whatever. And here we are, turning and burning every weekend cooking. And,
Yeah.
So tell me about where do you want to be? I mean, where do you want to take your channel?
Well, when I started the channel, I just put it out there with no expectations. And then I thought, holy cow, wouldn't it be great if I could get to 1,000 subscribers? And then I got to 1,000 subscribers. And I thought, oh, there's no way we're going to get to 10,000 subscribers. And then we got to 10,000 subscribers. And then I had a couple of videos take off. I've got 2 videos that have over 2 million views, and that's really cool to see that kind of view count next to your name on a YouTube video. And there's a popular YouTube guy that I was talking with him right as I got back into it. And he said, man, you should have never stopped making YouTube videos. He's like, he goes, you would have 350, 400,000 subscribers right now if you never would have stopped making YouTube videos and you stuck with it. And so instantly when he told me that, I had this overwhelming feeling of just regret. And I don't want to get that feeling of regret as it relates back to the YouTube channel again. So I'm going to go really hard this year on YouTube. And by hard, I don't mean a lot of content. I mean just being consistent with it. So I want to try to put out a video at least once every 2 weeks. I'm not going to take 4 months off. I'm not going to take 6 months off. I made a commitment to myself to put out consistent content, at least 2 videos a month. Now with this shorts thing, I mean, you could put out a lot of video with that, but I don't think that's really doing anything to help your channel in terms of new subscribers. I do think it's helping with the views and getting in people's viewers' history, but I don't think that's a big player yet in growing your channel. Although Max, the meat guy, would probably disagree with that. He's putting out amazing content that shorts, and his channel is completely taken off, but his content is in a completely different stratosphere than what I'm doing. But I think if I can get to that 100,000, now I've set that, I think that's a lofty goal for us, but if we can get to that 100,000 by the end of the year, I'll feel accomplished. But more than anything else, if I can just put out, 2 good videos a month for the entire year, I'll feel good with that. But I don't ever want, the Huss is in the house. I love watching Huss's videos, man. He cracks me up. He makes good food. He's one of my favorite guys on the Blackstone. He's the king of the Blackstone, him and the Wall Twins. I love watching them on YouTube. But if we can get to 100,000 this year and I can have fun on the way and I can reconnect, I reconnected with you. We haven't seen each other since you were out in Denver, I guess 2 years ago for that brisket class. But now we text back and forth. Huss, I feel like I've become friends with me. He sent me a couple like private videos and stuff. And if I can get these relationships out of it, I never want to stop them. And I'm just going to continue to make them. But I don't have any like specific tangible goals. But it will be so much fun to show a silver play button to my kids.
Well, one of the nice things, and Hussey is a savage on that Blackstone, and he just got a smoker, and I can't wait to see what he does with that. And he's got a lot of isms, Hussey isms is what I call them. And obviously, if you follow his channel, the good groceries is one of them. But he's got. I mean, you listen to him; he's extremely entertaining, and just like you, Jason. I mean, you're so full of energy when you're making your videos, and it's like I can't fast forward because I don't want to miss a thing that you're saying. I'm like, nothing else. My brisket could be drying up in my. I'm watching your video, and that's what matters right now. But it's so entertaining. I think that you've got great content, and I love the energy. And I think that one of the things that I mean, you were around 2 years ago. In this barbecue community, I think that we all stick together. We all support each other in anything that you want. And I try to bring up people because people brought me up when I was a small channel, and I still consider myself a small channel. I'm just at 36,000 subscribers, so I'm not nowhere near where I want to be. My goal is to get to 1 million subscribers. That's where I want to be.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I'm gonna try my hardest to get to that,
Joe, you'll if you really want it, you'll get to it. And if you don't, you'll make a really good excuse on why you didn't do that. But the minute you get to 1 million subscribers, I'll throw a big old party for you out here in Denver.
There you go, man. So one of the things that I noticed is that you have your restaurant, and you also have I don't know, would you call it a restaurant at the stadium there, the football stadium?
Well, it's a kiosk. So we've got 4 POSs in there, and we'll crank out. I mean, I'll crank out in 3 hours more. We'll do more volume there in 3 hours than we'll do in a whole Saturday and half of a Sunday at one of my shops. So, I mean, it's packed, and I'm super excited to say we've been there for 2 years, and I just signed a 5-year extension on it. So I've got a great relationship with the stadium over there, developing some really good relationship with some of the players down around the area. So I'm a huge sports fan. I love the Broncos. I love just game day atmosphere. We talked earlier about barbecue contests. I mean, that's to the tailgating, the drinking, the eating, and then going in and watching a football game. I mean, that's how I like to live my life. So on Saturdays, whether it's up in Boulder, going to CU games, or Sundays at Empire Field, going to Bronco games.
So why is your son a Green Bay Packer fan? What is up with that? What is up with
I don't
that?
know. Let's get him in here. Let me get him in here and ask him. He's probably stuck on his iPad right now. I
That
told the
is.
kids, my wife's gone, and I told all the kids they can play on the iPads while she's
Uh-oh.
gone. Hey,
That is
Jack.
hilarious. Get your butt over here.
Let's see. He might be over at his friend's house. He's got a friend next door.
Oh, I got you.
So I think he loves the color green. So his favorite NBA team, and I indoctrinate these poor kids with all things Denver athletics. But check this out. We're in his room right now. Yeah, he's not in here. I think he's at his friend's house. But this is his closet. So he's got a Boston Celtics, and then he's got all of his Green Bay stuff. He's got a helmet and a jersey. And where's Jack at, Jenna? He's still over at Gavin's. I can text him. So here's his Green Bay helmet. So what do these things have in common? It's okay, Jenna. You don't need to tell him to come back. So they both got the color green in them. So I think he loves the color green, and I think the G on the helmet, it's like reminiscent maybe of our last name. So I think that's why he likes him. But I'm going to make a prediction. I think he will become a Bronco fan here in the next couple of years.
Okay, so 2 years. So we're 2021 to 2023. I'm gonna head out there to Denver and ask your son that question.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
You mentioned pork steaks. Do you have pork steaks at your restaurant?
We don't, but we do them on special. So I do a weekly special where once a week we just come up with something creative and clever and something different. And so we'll run pork steaks once or twice a year.
Very nice. Biggs, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. And also, Hussey, thank you very much for that. That is so awesome. That I'm a Cowboys fan, diehard Cowboys fan, and my mom last year bought my daughter a Raiders jersey because my daughter told my mom that she likes the silver and black colors. So she wears it every once in a while, and it kills me inside. But I'm like, okay, it's just a shirt. Calm down. She's still a Cowboys fan. I would think. So, well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with your son.
I'm actually thrilled that the Lakers moved out to Vegas. I was married in Vegas, and Vegas is one of my favorite cities in America. So I cannot wait to go out to Bronco games in Las Vegas.
Very nice. So, obviously, as I was mentioning earlier, the community, I think that we're all pretty tight. And Jason, obviously, we'd love to welcome you back into the barbecue community. And those of you guys that are in the chat, if you're not subscribed to the G-QUE Barbeque, check him out. He's got some amazing content, high energy stuff. And I think that you'll like it. I love the variety of things that you're doing. You're doing seafood, you're doing burgers, you're doing Philly cheesesteaks, you're doing all sorts of stuff. You're doing everything that I'm not. And I love that.
Joe, you've already got my gears a cranking. So you said earlier you had a lot of success comparing a Carolina style pork shoulder to, I don't know, was it a Texas style?
Yes.
Texas style pork shoulder. So we're all looking for that silver bullet, right? We're all looking for things that YouTube is gonna want to promote to other people because people are staying on longer and watching the video. So I instantly started thinking, as you were saying that, and not having good control of my thoughts in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of other videos borrowing that same kind of technique. But I find that it's those intriguing kind of things that I think people click on more than just how to make this, unless you're one of those studs in the YouTube barbecue world that can put out a video and already has the viewership. For guys like us, we got to find something that's intriguing enough to where people are curious and they want to click on the thumbnail and watch your video. And so that's I think I'm going to play a lot around with that kind of stuff. So you'll see a lot of those versus or griddle versus grill or compare this to that kind of videos.
I love that. The last video you did, were those bratwurst or sausages?
Sausages, jalapeno cheddar sausages. So those are the same sausages we cook in my restaurant. So I just ran up there, grabbed a bunch of them, and brought them down. And so, Joe, what we actually did was I didn't think the Green Bay Packers were going to lose that game, and so we filmed the Green Bay Packers, and then we filmed some burn-ins, and that's going to be my next video. And it was going to be a Kansas City Green Bay kind of teaser leading up to the Super Bowl. And when they lost and Tampa Bay got in, it foiled all of our plans. So then we had to edit it back down to where it was more just a sausage video versus a big old Super Bowl kind of to-do video. But oh well.
So are you filming your own videos, or is somebody there with you?
No, I've got a local guy here, Joel, and he films them, and so he does that. And he does all the side by side. If you go back and you look at the very beginning videos, those were in the kitchen at my house, and so I had just a GoPro filming those, and I did everything on those. And then I got an iPhone. The iPhone camera started getting better, so I did that, and I got into the restaurant. I filmed a couple of those on my own. But then I started making some money and making a little more money, and I could pay somebody to come out and film those for me. And so I had a gal that I know, a local gal. She filmed those for me. And then I went dormant for a while, and then I connected with Joel. Joel filmed one or two beforehand, and then Joel comes in, and Joel and I just split the ad revenue. So we split right down the middle, 50-50. So he has an incentive for wanting to grow and do well and make more content. And obviously I have an incentive for growing, and I go buy all the food, and there's a lot of costs to the food and stuff. And so we have a good arrangement, and he's passionate, and he does, I think, a really good job. And so it works out really well for us. And there's enough ad revenue to make it worthwhile for both of us right now.
That's neat. I want to get to that point where I can have a camera guy in. And earlier you mentioned that had you not gotten out of YouTube, I think that you could have easily been over 300,000. So, I think about some of the competition cooks that are successful YouTubers like Malcolm Reed. Look at him. He has done an amazing job, and I'm sure somebody's filming for him too. But I think that your history, and I don't think a whole lot of people know your history. They probably just see, okay, well, he owns G-QUE Barbeque and he's got a YouTube channel. But that's why I wanted to interview you two, so that people got to learn a little bit about your history and where you really come from. I think it means a lot to people, and that competition style background. I think that I think that would be a great video for you to do, is to kind of do a mock video. Hey, this is back then when I used to do it. This is how I used to do it, and I'm going to cook all 4 meats today, and this is what I would use. I mean, you mentioned earlier you don't hold any barbecue secrets. I would love to. There was nobody out there that is willing to put out a video like that. Like nobody. Because I think that it's like a hidden secret. And I think that, I mean, you might have a few phone calls. Jason, what the hell are you doing putting that stuff out there? Because you're giving away a lot of secrets, but you're not doing it anymore. I would pay money to see that video. Like you doing competition style chicken and pork butt and brisket. I would love to see that. And what the ingredients that you used to use back then, that would get a ton of views, because people want to know that.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's something we've talked about. I think I teased that in one of the other videos. Like, hey, let me know if you want to see that kind of stuff. But I think with the proliferation of all these competition barbecue classes, I think a lot of people know what everybody's using right now, but it's just a matter of just getting it just right and stuff. And I think cooking it just right, that's the secret to competition barbecue, more so than is it a sauce or is it a rub. It's just getting that bite just perfect. And that's the key. And that's what keeps guys out of the top 5. And that's what keeps guys in the top 5. The hardest place to jump in competition is going from 5 from 10 to 1 through 5. And it's just nailing that perfect bite. And so, yeah, I mean, sharing that kind of stuff, I think would do good, but I don't know how many people. I know Malcolm's got some stuff, and Malcolm is the perfect example of persistence and improvement and quality and getting better every single time. You go back and you look at, like, Malcolm was one of the first guys putting barbecue content out on YouTube, and he never quit. He just stayed consistent over time, and with each of his videos he got better, and he's got the perfect just like barbecue look and sound, and he is, I think, just a great example of why YouTube is so great, why now is such a great time to be alive, why anybody can get out there and just become awesome at what they do and make a good living for themselves.
So James says that he gets criticized from certain people for the things that and he's obviously a competition cook, so I can see that, because people are, I think, a lot of competition style cooks. I mean, they all help each other out, and we have people help me out. when I was getting into it, and they said, "Hey, well, trim your thigh bone right here. Don't leave so much bone in it or whatever." And those kind of things help. But when it comes to the secret sauce or the secret, how to get it tender or whatever, I think that they still hold that to themselves. A lot of people do. And there's a lot of barbecue classes that claim that they show everything, the big unveiling. I still think that they hold something back.
Okay, Joe. So I'm gonna share a secret. So I did one barbecue class. I did one competition barbecue. I did other barbecue classes, but I did one competition barbecue class, and I'll share with you exactly what I told everybody in that class. And it was a $500 class, and we sold out. We had 25 people. We had people come from all over Kansas City, California. They came from all over. Did the barbecue competition class, and I told them, I go, this is what I'm showing you guys right now. And I go, this is everything I did in my last year competition. And I also talked about how I would vary. So I didn't cook the exact same thing at all. I did about 15 contests is the amount you can do in Colorado if you don't want to do an extra day of traveling, right? So I said, this is pretty much the anchor of everything I did. And you make slight adjustments based on what's hitting or what's not hitting and what time of the year it is and all that kind of stuff. I said, but here's the thing is look around the room right now. You got 25 other competition cooks that are getting the exact same information. And maybe they're going to tell some of their buddies, maybe they'll sell some of the information to other people. If they want to do that, I can't force them not to do that. Although I wish they wouldn't do that because you're the one that's here and you're the one paying the money and your butt is in the seat, right? So then I would say like where you are really going to differentiate yourself from everybody else is you got to put your own spin on it. And when you put your own spin on it and it's working, that's your secret and you can't tell anybody. But you got to constantly be tweaking. You got to constantly be trying something so that it's unique and everybody and their brother doesn't know it and trying the exact same thing. So I agree with you. And I do agree with you that when you go to these tell-all classes, there's probably not so much it's intentional on them part to withhold that. They're probably telling you everything, but they're not cooking those exact same things along the way. And there might be one little subtle tweak, and just those little things, that's the difference maybe between, spot number 6 and spot number 2. But I do think more important than any recipe is pulling it off at the right time and just making sure you get that right texture and that right tenderness. And there are like little tricks to that, and just certain things you want to hit with that.
Oh, Hungry Hussy and his Sherwine. I mean, he's a Hussy, man. I love Sherwine, but that stuff is like super sweet. I heard you mention one time on one of your videos that there's a diet Sherwine. If there is, I need to get my hands on some of that because I can't handle Sherwine straight up, and that stuff is like syrup. It's so sweet. So
Joe, you got to bring Hussy on. Are you going to do these every week?
I do them. Well, I try to do them every Wednesday, but there's some Wednesdays that I take off, depending on what I got going on. But yeah, I would love to get Hussy on, and just to hear some of his Hussyisms, But Jason, again, we've been on for a little over an hour. I do want to thank you again for getting on and letting us interview you and ask you some ground pounding questions and kind of get you out of your comfort zone. I mean, I know you were sweating over there, but I really appreciate it. And again, it's interesting to get to know you a little bit more and where it all started and where you're at now. I mean, I wish you the best of luck with everything that you're doing, including your YouTube channel. And, I'm going to help support you in any way that I can. Obviously I'm a lot smaller channel than you, but I've got a lot of fresh subscribers that watch a lot of my videos, and I'm definitely going to do my part to push them your way because, again, as I mentioned earlier, the one thing I like about the barbecue community is that we all help each other out. And whether it's Hussy that mentions my name on a video or James, which has helped me tremendously, those people help me out, and you're getting back into it. So the training wheels they're off, but your handlebars are, you're having to pedal a little bit faster than most people trying to catch up. But, again, want to thank you for joining me on this live and looking forward to seeing more of your videos. Can't wait to get up to Colorado to see you again and have some of your amazing barbecue at your restaurant. So anything you want to say before we close it off?
No, Joe, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I was really tickled when you invited me and I saw your text to invite me on here. So thank you so much. And anytime you want to come up here, I'll have a big old tray of barbecue with your name on it waiting for you in here. And happy birthday to you. Happy Big 4-8. Can you still do one shot for every year that you've been born? Can you do 48 shots?
Of water, maybe. We'll have to try that next time I go up there. I'll be line them up, Jason.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right, Jason. Have a good night. Thanks again.
All right,
buddy.
brother. You too. See you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.